We'll discuss race and how it plays a factor, and how we didn't even talk about this topic because we were afraid.
A Black Executive Perspective.
We are coming to you live from the BEP studio for another thought-provoking episode of a Black Executive Perspective podcast, a safe space where we discuss all matters related to race, culture, and those uncomfortable topics people tend to avoid. I'm your host, Tony Tidbit.
And I'm your co-host, Chris P. Reed. And we are coming to you live to tackle the real, the raw, and often uncomfortable truths shaping our world. No fluff, no filters, just bold conversations on issues that matter. From power to politics to culture and corporate America, we're breaking it all down without holding back anything. So let's get into it.
Definitely, my brother. So today, and obviously, let's be fair, we're going to talk about in the wake of Charlie Kirk's death, what we saw was a rush to assign blame that was instant long before the facts or suspects were known about what happened. So what we want to do is we want to break down how tragedy becomes a political weapon, why fear fuels finger pointing, and what happens when narratives replace truth. Is it about the left versus the right, or is it about losing sight of our shared humanity? That's what we're going to dive into. Let's get into it. Give me your top line thoughts, my brother.
Man, can't wait to hear it. And glad we got some perspective on it and hope that people chime in.
And thank you for saying that. Because look, at the end of the day, Chris and I are going to share our perspectives. We're going to share some facts. However, we want this to be interactive. We want you to share your thoughts, your opinions. We want to hear from everyone. You don't have to say what you feel. Let's just throw the cards on the table. And we're going to chat about it. Him and I, Chris and I we're not experts. We don't know this and that. But you know what? At the end of the day, we're human. We both have a sense of humanity and stuff to that nature. So we're going to talk about it. And one of the things that's very important, and is why we started this platform, is to have these conversations, these uncomfortable conversations, and chat about them. Because at the end of the day, that's, in my opinion, that's the only way you solve issues, right? Now, you could say, somebody's got to listen, and I get it. All that's being said. But since human beings been on the planet, whenever there's been any type of disagreement, brother, sister, friends, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, countries, at the end of the day, the only way to solve those issues is through communication.
Absolutely.
Okay? And then when the person don't communicate, all right, that brother and sister, they don't have a relationship no more. Those friends, that relationship is frayed. The boyfriend and girlfriend, they broke up. Husband and wife, they're going to go through divorce, right? Countries go to war because of lack of communication. And that's a fact. That is a fact. So we're going to dive in. We're going to talk. That's what this platform is about. So you ready to get into it, my brother?
Absolutely. Let's get it.
Okay, cool. So what we want to do first, before we start getting into, this, that, hold on here, let's back up a little bit. And I want everybody to get a sense of where we are, not as a country, you could say as a country, but as people. And I hope we're going to play a couple of clips. And I hope you follow along, right? But I want to set the stage of where we are right now as people in the United States and throughout the world. But let's just look at the United States and why we are where we are. Sounds like a plan? Chris? All right, let's do it.
Thank you very much. I'm here today to talk about stereotypes. Contrary to popular belief, nobody has to teach us how to stereotype anybody. It's something our brains do all by themselves because they're trying so hard to oversimplify our world, and this leads to sometimes hatred and literally sometimes warfare between groups of people, all because our brains are trying to make life easier for us. Let's talk about how this happens. First thing we need to talk about are in-groups. An in-group is any group that we feel as if we belong to that group. We identify with it. Anytime we say we or us, that's an in-group. And belonging to an in-group is pretty awesome. Gives us a sense of belonging, of having a place in the world. We raise our opinion of other members of our group. If you think of yourself as a member of your group and you think of me as a member of that group, your opinion of me will go up even if we've never met, just because I'm part of that group. Oddly, we also think about and notice the differences between ourselves. We think of ourselves as distinct and unique individuals who all just happen to share something good in common, which is belonging to the group. In-groups make us feel like part of humanity. They make us feel great, and frankly, it is wonderful. Unfortunately, there's a downside to this, because anytime you have an us, you have to have them.
Real quick, buddy. In groups, we break ourselves into groups, blah, blah, blah. What's your thoughts real fast?
It's natural. And as he stated, it's innate, it's natural, it's something that you have to consciously guard against and fight against, and you have to be brave about. If you want to have a unifying collective understanding of the world, you have to be willing to go over there and be amongst the natives. You have to go to the other side of the aisle or across the aisle and shake hands for the bigger picture. And for whatever reason, we're seeing a deterioration in that, as opposed to as the world gets smaller because of communication, travel, and other things. We should be getting closer together, and it appears as if we're not headed in that direction.
Yeah, and so we'll dive deeper into that, but just wanted to break the simplicity of how, as human beings, we break into groups, okay? And it's just as simple. And the next clip I'll play, he'll break it how simple it is. But we do it automatically because we're afraid. So we want to assimilate to some type of group, because then we feel good about ourselves, right? And this starts from a kid. I mean, this is something we done all along, right? And so we get into these groups, and then all of a sudden, if you're part of my group, even if I never met you, and I heard, or I put it this way, let's look at colleges like Kappas and stuff to that nature, right? Or Alphas, right? If you a Kappa, right, and you in LA or right or whatever, I never met you, but because you a Kappa, you my man, you my girl, right? If you a Alpha, doesn't matter. If you a Alpha, if you want to know my wherever you are, you my man, you my girl, right? Regardless, you don't know nothing about their personality. You don't know if they're criminals or not. You don't know if they have this share the same values. Yeah, they was in the same group, right? And you guys all pledged together. But at the end of the day, they're in my group. I love them. Now, the antithesis is that is what? What did he say? He said, anytime you have an us, you got to have a what? Them.
Them.
Those people, the outsiders, the in-group, the out-group. Here's the thing. We don't raise our opinion of members of the out-group. In fact, we lower it. Just knowing that you belong to a group that I don't belong to lowers our opinion of you. Also, when we look at members of the out-group, we notice the similarities between them. We start to think of them as interchangeable, as essentially all the same, as a faceless blob, so to speak. In a worst-case scenario, when our group turns inward and restricts and reduces interaction with members of the out-groups, we will actually dehumanize them and conclude that they're not really human in the first place. Now, dehumanization is terrible for a variety of reasons, but one of those reasons is because it becomes possible to do terrible things to people if we don't think of them as fully human in the first place. This us versus them, in-group, out-group dynamic happens anytime we divide ourselves into groups, even if we know that it's random. If I were to divide this room right now and start referring to everybody on this side of the room as Group A, everybody on this side of the room as Group B, if I keep reinforcing that by asking questions or simply referring to those groups, Group A over here, blah, 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 Group B, this and that. By the time I'm done with my talk, many of the people in this room will have started to raise their opinion of people who sat on the correct side of the room, meaning the side they're on, and unfortunately started to lower their opinion of members of the out-group, the other side of the room, people who sat on the wrong side of the room. It's just that simple. That's all it takes. And it seems to be universal throughout humankind as well. We have a natural tendency to favor us over them.
So just going back to that Kappa thing, right? Or the Alpha, right?
Yeah.
If you're an Alpha, and again, I'm just making this up, right? But if you're on the other side, I don't like you because you in the other group and you ain't in my group because my group is the best group. Let me hear your thoughts.
Being innate, it reminds me of children. So of a certain age, children tend to assimilate due to size dynamics. They see another person their size, and it's not about race, it's not about gender, it's not about religion, it's not about any of those things, because kids can see that somebody's a different skin tone. Kids can see that somebody's hair is longer, hair is shorter, whatever. But what they see is another person my size and they want to play. They want to interact. The stereotypes and the other things that separate us are things that are taught and reinforced by different narratives, whether it be society, parenting, whatever, it's a situation where if you just let kids be kids, if you go to any preschool, daycare type situation, kids are assembling if they're allowed to. They're hanging out with, it's not all boys and all girls. It's none of that. It's a combination of just human beings sharing in the human experience. I would be interested to look at what age is it or what factors predicate to when we get away from, just the natural things of, hey, this person's my size, and so we're all human beings, and start to differentiate ourselves because of some of these other silly reasons, these political reasons.
Yeah. So here, and we're gonna keep moving forward, but let me just jump in here real quick, buddy. So I get it when you say the kids thing, right? And but buddy, Cub Scouts, Girl Scouts, you name, they're groups. Okay, they're groups. All right, basketball team, football team, cheerleaders, right? The cheerleaders is a group, and the people ain't cheerleaders, they're dogs. This is my point here. It's human nature that we immediately start. If you're in my group, as he just said, as simple as I'm in this auditorium, and everybody from seat A, row A to row L is group A, and everybody from row L to row Z is group B. And then I start asking questions, and I said, all right, let me see what group answers this. And then everybody's like, our group, we won. That's automatic. We do it automatic, right? You don't even know it. You could be sitting next to a serial killer, a pedophile, right? But he's sitting in your seat next on your group. You're like, good shot, man. Randomly. Like, man, good one. I love this, my boy. All right. Know nothing about him, but he's in my group. Okay. And that's how simple it is. And so now the reason I wanted to dive into this first, because what we want to talk about, because he said a couple of things here. All right. That's very key. He says, once we start getting into groups, we then don't see the other group as human. And we see them all the same. We don't see them as individuals. We see them all the same. I can give you a million examples, a million. There's not a state that I haven't been into, and I've been in 46 out of 50 states in the country. Not a state that I've been into where when I was there, I was like, these people in Massachusetts, none of them can drive. All right. I go to Connecticut. These people in Connecticut, they can't drive. You go to Vermont. Now, they'll kill you in Vermont. They can't drive. Everybody in the state can't drive. And it doesn't matter what state I go to. That state tells you everybody in that state can't drive. So it's it's not that this person is a horrible driver. It's not that she's horrible or he's horrible. It's like everybody, right? And that's where we go. So when we go to that level, right, then we're not seeing humanity. We're seeing a sea of what he said, blobs, right? It doesn't matter. They can't drive. All right, everybody, right? And so that's where we are now. Is gone to a whole nother level, right? So let's think this through for a second. Let's back up, okay? So we established the group thing here, right? We established, now we're in this situation where it's this group versus that. And look, that's always been, just to be fair, this has always been that way from human time. All right, let's be fair. But now from a political standpoint, it's gone off the rails, okay? And it's really getting to a level where, to be honest, we got some serious issues here, right? In which we're going to share some stuff with you, serious. But let's set the stage here. Charlie Kirk, when did he get shot? What day was that? Was it last
Wednesday?
Last Wednesday. It was a week. Almost a week ago, right? Now, he got shot last Wednesday. All right. And let's say this too, because I want to be clear here, right? Is that at the end of the day, and this is when I say we lose our humanity. So at the end of the day, either you like him or you didn't. A guy gets shot, okay, in front of his family, right? All these people, right? Which was horrible. All right. Because, and we can get in, but at the end of the day, it's like, this is a tragedy. And when I say humanity, we should look at it as a human thing and have empathy for it, regardless of you like him, you didn't like him, you didn't like his politics, whole nine yards. And we're going to give some more examples of that. But back to the point, right? So he got shot, okay? And this happened right immediately after he got shot.
I'm going to say this. Democrats own what happened today. I am devastated. My kids have called panicking. All the kids of every conservative in the country called panicking. Just because you speak your mind on an issue doesn't mean you get shot.
Then by that logic, do Republicans own the shooting of the 2 Democratic lawmakers in Minnesota?
Political.
Isn't this on both
Are you
sides?
kidding me?
No, I'm asking
We
a
don't
serious
know what
question.
condition Charlie Kirk is in right now. Some raging leftist lunatic put a bullet through his neck, and you want to talk about Republicans right now? No.
No, I'm asking
not
you.
at all.
You said the Democrats have to own it
No, this is
too,
on.
but
The
I'm asking-
Democrats own this.
But isn't there a
Democrats
problem
own
with
this.
political violence across the spectrum?
Yeah, we're talking
There are-
about Charlie Kirk right now. That's the subject of this that we're talking about right now. Democrats own this 100%.
So hold on. Let's go back to groups. All right? Dude's dead. Just happened. All right? Don't know who the suspect is, right?
Nope.
He's in a dark color clothes, right? No name, no affiliation, no nothing, right? First thing is what, Chris?
The left, the Democratic
They
left.
did it.
They did it.
No,
They,
not
them,
one person.
Them.
Not one
yep,
person.
them.
Them.
Yep.
The whole group.
Yep.
This is on them.
Their representative. Yep, their representative.
The whole group. Think about
Right.
that. All right?
Right.
The whole group. This is on them.
Right.
Right? No facts. No, hey, we got DNA. We got fingerprint. We got nothing. We don't know nothing.
Right.
Right? But immediately it's on them. Okay? And then she started it, right? This is on them. And my man said, wait a minute, hold on for a second. You know, if that's the case, what about the Republicans?
that logic.
No. Well, this is on them. And now you want to bring up politics? You brought it up. All right. And here's the thing, though. This goes back to that using politics, okay, in a tragedy versus saying this was horrible. Yeah, I can't believe he got shot. We should be saying prayers and then shutting up, okay, and leaving. Don't talk a narrative. No, you want to use this as a way to push a political narrative versus a group or to show your group is this and that. You see my point here, man? And that's just one of many thoughts. Let me hear your thoughts.
Well, first of all, like you said, it reinforced the us part of it because I'm not even sure, based on some of the things I've heard from her in the past, that her and Charlie was necessarily aligned. But all of a sudden, when he could be used as a martyr, he was one of us. And I mean, that was my man, 40 grand. And I can't believe they did my boy like this and all of that. So all of a sudden, that's been inflated. And then, as you stated, the dehumanization or the demonization of the others or the them is blindly visceral, and I don't like the incendiary language. And I'm sure there's other things that was more incendiary than that, but it's very irresponsible to have a microphone and a public platform and spew this type of rhetoric or ignorance, because ignorance is just by definition not knowing. She was ignorant of the facts. That did not stop her from giving a very, very irresponsible opinion in that situation. But as you stated eloquently, she was trying to facilitate an agenda and proliferate a narrative that she was going to make sure had the eyeballs and the ears to push across to cater to the base.
Flat out, buddy. And here's the thing. And look, we want to hear from you. You got some thoughts, please put them in the chat. I'm looking. I just got a text in. There's a couple of comments, but I can't see them. So, reach out to me. I'll chat with you, whatever case may be. But we want to hear from you. Here's the thing, though. But that was on purpose. Okay? That was on purpose, to be fair. All right? Because instead of, again, our sense of humanity is gone because now it's the in group versus the out group. Okay? And so, so Monique said it's a double standard. Absolutely, Monique, you're 100% right. It's a double standard, right? But at the end of the day, it should be we all, no matter, I don't care what your political affiliation is, right? We all should be like, that's messed up. I can't believe it, and leave it at that. There's nothing else to be. Let me give you an example, man. And here's the thing. And I've heard things on both sides, right? But let me give you an example. I'll give you a lived experience example.
Okay.
And I don't know if he's watching or not, but my neighbor, his name is Patrick, right? He's an attorney. We've known each other, I don't know, almost 20 years now. Actually, he's the one that introduced us to the house that we own right now, the owner and we bought the house from. And we've been
the
really
man
tight.
from behind. Okay.
Yeah,
back
so
here.
you know who Patrick is.
Shout
That's right,
out,
you met-
Patrick.
Yeah, that's right.
Shout
I
out,
forgot
Patrick.
you met
Okay.
Patrick, right?
All right, cool.
So
Okay.
so look, me and this dude debates all the time. Okay? We always get at it. Okay, we go at it, right? And there's times we'll go at it and it'd be just a little fodder. And then there's times we got heated, all right, where, we got into it, never to the part that we want to fight, but just heated, right? Blah, 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 this and that. One of the things, though, to be fair, I've learned a lot from him. He's learned a lot from me from our debates. And then sometimes we agree to disagree. That's fine. Let me give you an example, though. Let's say him and I get at it. Right. And one of his little pet things is he always says, I'm chatting about something. Then he'll be like, let me stop you right there. Let me stop you right there. And then he'll interject, right? Which drives me crazy. Let me stop you right there. Let me stop you right there. Right. So let's say we got heated. Right. And then I was upset and I left. I was at his house and we got into it. And then I went and got my shotgun, walked back up the hill behind him while he's in the pool. And then while his daughters and wife is sitting out there, they're barbecuing. He's laying in the pool. I come up and blast him, shot, right? Kill him, right? And then as I'm going to jail, and then the neighbors get together, and they're like, "What happened?" And then they start saying, "Well, Tony came up, they got into a debate, and Tony didn't like what he said, blah blah blah." And then if some of the neighbors said, "Well, that's what he get. He shouldn't have, he shouldn't have talked like that. That's what, that's what you get." You see my point here? Would you accept that? Hell no.
No,
You'll be like,
not
what
at
it don't matter. He should have never got shot, right? But some people
That's right.
are like, well, that's on him because he said, let me stop you right there one too many times. And that's why he got No.
There's such thing as cruel and unusual, right? There's such thing as uneven or unequal responses to things. And we see it in road rage incidents, things like that. People allow for emotions, but that didn't seem to be as emotional as contrived. And we're not going to get into, legislating the issue with the guy who perpetrated the crime. But the reality of it is, at no point in time, and the first thing I thought, to be honest with you, I seen it on something I was on when I got home I was in a strategy session, got home, looked at it and was like, or got into bed, looked at it and was like, oh, dang, somebody got killed. People get killed all the time. Welcome to the United States, right? We got gun problems. But then when I clicked on it, I was like, oh, that dude. I didn't necessarily have a one-to-one his name to his game, but I had seen his game before. And I was like, immediately, and I'm not a very empathetic person because I'd have seen some things in my life. But I was like, dang, that's a shame. Dude got killed over probably talking mess. Because I'm sure it wasn't a duel. It wasn't an old school 10 paces type situation. I'm sure it wasn't a fist fight where he got caught up in a stabbing. He got shot from, and then to find out it was from a distance. It wasn't even no, gangster type up on him type deal. And it was just like, dang, he got shot over, to be honest with you. And I'm just being straight up with you. And I understand the definition of assassination versus murder. We're not going to legislate that here. But the reality of it is, he was a talking head. You, my friend, are a talking head.
Correct.
You don't deserve to die over anything you say here. That's cruel and unusual.
Stop.
You did?
Stop. I totally dig, bro. I totally dig, right? Nobody should die over that, right? Regardless if you like him or not. So that's the issue here, right? It doesn't matter if you like him or not, right? At the end of the day, that could be any one of us.
Absolutely.
That's the thing. And that's how you got to take a step back and be like, wait a minute. Yeah, that could be me. That could be us, BEP, right? We didn't
absolutely. You give it license.
Bring a Uzi and just take us out. All right? Because we said blah, blah, blah. Stop. And our kids are there, right? However, here's the kicker though. We start, but again, it becomes the in-group, out-group. Everybody, doesn't matter now. It's us versus them. Let me give you another example of that.
Mr. President, I implore you, call for a civil war. Call for a civil war and let us do our thing. Let us go door to door, street by street, and clean this country. Please, if you're watching this and you share the same sentiment, send it to Donald Trump, share it on your page, whatever. Get this message out there. This is not a joke. I'm a peaceful man. Time for peace is over. I'm willing to fight and I'm willing to die. We are all Charlie Kirk.
So again, my man, so he calling for civil war, right?
He is.
And
He is.
he calling for civil war. Hold on, Mr. President, send us out there in the street. Now, here's the thing, though. He wants to
Deputize us,
wipe.
fam.
Hold on. But here's the thing, though. He wants to wipe out everybody in the other group. All right. Well, he don't even know what group. He don't even know what group they're in. You go to the net. We'll go door to door.
Door to door and ask, what the
We'll
hell is
go
we
door
doing?
to door. All right, and just start. Well, we got to show a group badge or something.
Right,
you get
right.
blasted, you know.
Right. Hey, you know what? It's the. Okay, go ahead.
No. I'm acting like he come to my door. Hold on, man. Let me get my badge. Show you that I'm in your group, right? This is where we are. This is where we are. Okay, think about. And this dude, I'm a peaceful man.
Man.
All right.
Yep.
And Mr. President, put us out. You know, give us the word, and we're out.
Right.
We want to wipe out everybody in that group, right? So this is where it. So everybody in the group is the same. You don't see people as individuals. You see them, like my man said in the clip, as a blob, as is inhuman. Everybody is supposedly in this group. They're not human, so they deserve to die, all right? Or whatever happens to them, whatever the case may be, right? Let me throw this at you, right? Now here, Megyn Kelly, evidently her and Charlie Kirk was tight, okay? And you laughing. No, but seriously, they were tight, right? And so I want to play a couple clips here. Now, obviously she's upset because this just happened. She jumped on this podcast. So Nadine says we all are Charlie Kirk, right? I mean, thanks, Nadine. This is like we all think about it. Exactly, that's the point, right? It ain't his name is Luther, whatever his name is, right? Luther gone. We all Charlie Kirk, the whole group.
That's it.
We're the whole group, right? So everybody else, this is where we are. But here's the thing. Let me paint this picture. So Megyn Kelly, evidently her and Charlie Kirk were tight. They did some stuff together. She's on this podcast. This is right. And so she's emotional. But here's the point that we want to bring up here versus trying to continue to push a narrative in a tragedy.
BC. But I want to focus in on a contributor on your program, a legendary American journalist who also knew Charlie Kirk, Mark Halperin, who talked about the need not to find something positive, but to turn towards not vengeance, but grace. How are you handling the emotions of all of this?
You know, I'm torn because I like vengeance. You know, I was never a prosecutor, but I went to law school because I thought that's what I wanted to do with my life. I'm fine with vengeance, and I hope to see it exacted on the perpetrator of this crime. But I have kids, and I need to worry about the country they're going to grow up in. But they have to grow up in this country. We don't feel like ourselves. We haven't felt like ourselves in a while.
Okay, so look, let's be fair. Upset, emotional. This was my friend. We were tight. We did a bunch of things together. Actually, she says in the clip, I was supposed to go to a couple of his road shows. Not specifically this one, but a couple of road shows, right? Vengeance. She kept it singular, right? Hey, I hope they exterminate, whatever word she used. I'm paraphrasing, right? This individual, the perpetrator. Okay, I can get that. That makes sense, right? All those type things, right? But then where does she go after this? Were you gonna say something, bro?
Let me say something for the audience. I wanted to go to law school too, not because of vengeance as a prosecutor, but like justice. And those are not the same thing. And that's not why lawyers become lawyers. Please do not think that you go to law school to exact vengeance. So I just wanted to give a disclaimer from BEP about that.
So I get it, bro. I don't think most people would think that, and I get that. But I can get the emotion, right? Just to be fair, I get.
Okay.
Look, something happened to your daughters or your wife, right?
I want justice.
Thank you.
I want
Right?
justice.
You ain't gonna be on top of your game and talking about. You're gonna be like, I want this motherfucker dead. All right, that's just the bottom line. Okay. So, but here's the thing. That's fine. But where it goes off the rails is the next clip. And here's the thing. I want everybody to focus. Obviously, you're going to focus on what she says, but focus on the lower third of the title of what they're supposed to be talking about.
And I'm sorry to get political, but I'm just going to be honest. We haven't felt like ourselves since Barack Obama. I just think he was such a slick snake. You know, he was this affable guy who was like wearing good suits and looked the part and sounded the part and dressed the part, but was so divisive in his messaging. The left, they look at you like when you say this, they don't know what you're talking about. It's like, because you don't pay attention to the other half of the country. You only pay attention to your absurd news sources, which spin and spin and spin to protect Democrats, especially if they're named Obama. He's the one who started to inject race where no one had been doing it. He's the one who started to use his pen and the phone to shove things down our throat that we didn't want. He's the one who shoved through an entitlement on our health care and our personal doctor visits that he promised he wouldn't mess with, and then he did, really hurting people, causing massive anger and open lies. He never missed an opportunity to twist the knife on the racial issue. He would do it subtly and in his own way, but it was very clear what he was doing. For the first time, we had a president who weighed in on legal cases before they'd played out. We never did that. That was a taboo that had never been crossed before him. And Donald Trump was the reason Barack Obama, reverse that. Barack Obama was the reason Donald Trump came about, that he was born as a political figure. They say Trump's divisive. He was the antidote. He was the answer to the divisiveness of Barack Obama. And we just haven't felt like ourselves for years now.
So hold on. So I know you got thoughts on this, but let me just point out. Let me point out the obvious here, right? And I asked everybody to watch the lower third of what the title said, and it says a tribute to Charlie Kirk, right? So she's supposed to be on there. I'm sad about him. I love him. This and that. This is horrible. Right? But no, what does she do? We got to attack the other group. All right? Doesn't matter. We got to attack the other group. Okay? Right. So we're going to use his tragedy as a political weapon, right? And you see, again, when you look at the bottom, it says Megyn Kelly gives tribute to Charlie Kirk. How is that a tribute to Charlie Kirk? All right? And just to push a narrative. Okay? Again, no matter what. Now, had a Democrat said that, why are you guys using politics for tragedy and stuff? But they can do that, right? And it's okay, because let me tell you the reason why, right? Here's a couple things. And Chris, you said it a minute ago. So let's back up. Why? Why do people continue to push narratives in a tragedy? Right? I'll tell you why. Eyeballs. Okay? You just said it earlier. Hey, I saw this dude die. I saw somebody flash that it died, and I don't know the dude's name, but then when I saw it, it's like, oh, this is the dude, blah, blah, blah. So even if you're not in the political sphere, even if you're, it's like a football fan who's not a casual fan, right? You don't watch all the games, right? But the Super Bowl, you're going to show up, okay? Yep. So at the end of the day, here's an opportunity, because we're going to get a lot of viewers who typically won't view in on these things, but because of this, assassination, murder, whatever you want to call, we're going to get some extra people. So we're going to use this tragedy as a way to continue to push our narratives, right? And so at the end of the day, they're stepping on his grave, right? They're stepping on his memory and don't even know. I don't want to say they don't know it. They know it, right? But at the end of the day, instead of saying, hey, listen, he died. He was my friend. I can't believe this happened. I mourn for his family, his wife, his 2 kids. I can't believe it. And then shutting up and leaving it at that. Okay? But no, we can't do that. We have to be able to keep the narrative going. Let me hear your thoughts, bro.
So, of course, it gave a lot of woman scorn energy, in her depiction of Barack Obama. Dog, in 3 years, it'll be 20 years since bro was elected. Like, when are we going to get over? When did 08?
20 years. No, bro. So it'll be 10 years.
When was Barack Obama elected?
He was elected in 2008. Right. So, yeah.
Okay.
3 years will be 2028.
It'll be 20 years.
Right.
You haven't got a chance to settle on this 20 years later? What the hell is we doing? So this concept of creating a a villain. She said, but in the construction of a villain, she said he dressed too nice, smelled too good, and could dance. Like, what are we doing, Tony? What are we doing? This is a woman scoring speech.
He looked the
Man,
part.
he looked the part.
All right. But he really wasn't the part. But here's the thing, though. So I'm going to be honest with you. I don't get caught up in that because that. So here's the thing.
But we're talking about taking away from the intention of the moment and using that platform to spew your divisiveness.
Correct.
To spew
That's the
your
key.
hate against this group of people and to create a leader to use as the focal point of your anger and your hatred.
That's the key here.
That's what I'm
right?
getting at.
She's probably not the first time she said something like that about Obama, right? But saying it now and using his tragedy as a way, right, to push a narrative when you don't have to do that. You could have just said, hey, I'm sorry, I love him, I pray for him and his family. What can we do? Look, can we do a GoFundMe? Can
Words
we do
can
this?
express. Yep,
all
absolutely.
that, right? You ain't even, that's how you show up. But then you, and then she said it. I don't mean to get political here, right? Yes, you do. All right. And so these are the things, man. These are the things, right? That is continually pushed, right? And so what she said about Obama, I don't even get caught up in that, right? Because most likely, but she wanted to say it today. Excuse me, when
And
she
used
said
a lot of airspace. She used a lot of her time.
Nobody
to
could push
dedicate to
back.
Barack Obama.
There is no
Absolutely.
question. The thing was a tribute to Charlie Kirk. Okay, so these are the things. However, it's not just Megyn Kelly and this and that, the whole 9 yards, right? One of the things. Now let's back up. We said earlier that they didn't know who he was. They immediately said he was somebody on the left, right? The Democrats own this, blah, 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 all this type stuff. But then we found out that he's what?
White dude, MAGA, Christian, heterosexual male, like all of the things that they spew for and sign. It's on the sign-up sheet. Is what he represented, and it didn't get absorbed well. Let's just put it like that.
But here's the thing, though. So, and I don't know if he's hetero, whatever. I'm not gonna get into it because evidently, I guess he had a boy. And we don't know all this stuff, right? But he had a boyfriend or something like that, right? But my point
Counter
is
information that started to, yes, absolutely.
But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. So then, why, if that's the case, why immediately, without knowing the facts? Why immediately start saying that this group is responsible? Why did they do that? That's the question. Why? Let me ask you that question. Why did they do that?
Because once again, you said it though, some of it is emotional in that you have to find someone to blame. And the most convenient person to blame when you feel bad or when you feel disenfranchised or you feel trounced upon is the them. It's always the them. I lost my job because of them. I lost my wife because of them. Any loss that I incur, it can't be us. We wouldn't do that to each other. It's a them. So imagine the devastation or the tragedy when you actually find out the call was coming from inside the house. Imagine, you know what I'm saying? Shit.
So here's the thing, though, bro. So you're right. Let me just add on to it, right? Look, at the end of the day, remember back in Eddie Murphy in the 80s when he had his little stand-up and he talked about how a dude got caught messing around on his girlfriend.
Wasn't me.
And he was like, wasn't me.
Wasn't me. Right.
Like, I looked in your face. You're like, wasn't me.
Wasn't me.
All right. So, so at the end of the day, wasn't me. It was them. It was them. Right? So let's play chess, not checkers here. All right. Let's start putting the narrative out. And this, if it was one person, I get it. Right. But this is why I'm saying how it was strategic. This wasn't just, this was the whole group. Okay, that's saying it was the left, it was this, it was that, it was blah, 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 right? Why not even knowing it? It's like when 47 said when the two planes crashed, the helicopter and the plane, he was like, DEI did it. Okay, why did he say that? He said
to drive that wedge.
Even though it's not the facts, right? To continue the narrative to push it out. Because some people hear that over and over again and they'll believe it. So if I just say, hey, look, they did it, all right, without no fact, and not just I said it, but our whole groups was screaming the same stuff, and knowing that you're going to have casual people that's going to tune in, and they may not be politically savvy or 9 yards. This is my opportunity to paint a narrative before we get the facts. And then when we get the facts, we'll then try to fix the narrative with the fact. Because now he was a Magna, he's Republican, blah, 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 but now he's been radicalized.
Right.
So he just didn't just do it on his own. He had to be radicalized by the other group, right? So
no evidence of that. By whom? Who was in charge of radicalizing? Who's in charge of radicalizing these people? And they starting to blame colleges now, Tony. This is crazy.
Hold on. Why
so you can't
is
get an education?
I never. So let me ask you this: somebody breaks in your house. They kill somebody in your house.
Yes.
They're going to jail. Do you ever hear they were radicalized?
Man.
Do you ever hear, well, I'm sorry, Your Honor, the reason he did this, he was radicalized, right? You don't even hear. But in this situation, he's radicalized, right? But back to that's the end game. All right, because again, it's about the group and it's about the narrative. It really isn't about Charlie Kirk. And people are like, you crazy. No, it's not. Because their actions show that. Because if it was really about him, they wouldn't have brought up nothing political, right? And then throw out narratives that's not true, okay? So let me give you an example of a narrative that was pushed out from the highest office and then to show that it wasn't true.
Also true that he sees an attack on Charlie Kirk as an attack on him.
From the attack on my life in Butler, Pennsylvania last year, which killed a husband and father, to the attacks on ICE agents, to the vicious murder of a healthcare executive in the streets of New York, to the shooting of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise and 3 others, radical left political violence has hurt too many innocent people and taken too many lives.
Trump is right about one thing and wrong about one thing. He's right to suggest that political violence has become more and more commonplace.
We're living in a very politically violent era, and it's coming, we can debate where it's coming from, but no one has a monopoly. No side has a monopoly on it.
Yes, and this begins to hint at what Trump gets wrong in suggesting that what he calls the radical left is somehow exclusively the problem. In 2020, the FBI arrested several people in connection with a plot to kidnap and possibly assassinate the Democratic governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer. In 2021, pro-Trump supporters ransacked Congress, hoping to prevent the transfer of presidential power to Joe Biden. In 2022, an attacker beat the husband of then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi with a hammer in a home invasion where he hoped to take Pelosi herself hostage. In 2023, a man pleaded guilty for threatening to kill Democratic Senator Jon Tester after police found in his home nearly 20 firearms and more than 1,000 rounds of ammunition. In 2024, Democratic lawmakers from Connecticut faced a series of bomb threats, all signed MAGA. And in 2025, 2 Democratic lawmakers from Minnesota were shot in their own homes. One of them died.
So think about that, buddy. The president, what does he do? It's that group. They did it. And then what does he do? He lists off things that happened to Republicans, but doesn't say anything that happened to the other group, right? To make it one-sided, right? And so if you have the person at the highest level doing this group thing, or who's supposed to be the president of the entire country,
Of everyone.
of everybody, okay, of everybody, but it's the radical left, and then only provide the information based on the political violence that came from there, but no information on the political violence that came from his group, right? And why is that? I'm going to ask that question again. Why?
Oh, to create the level of divisiveness that they are trying to indoctrinate into these people's minds. Let me say this, Tony. I've never in my life, and I've lived a long time and seen a lot of things, I've never seen a situation where there was a less gracious winner. There was a winner of a situation that didn't take the win well. Like they won, and now this is cruel and unusual. You want, my father-in-law will always say, I'll run, but don't chase me. Like, damn, you won the election. You're in there. Why do you feel a need to continue to do this type of stuff when you're the winner. Now, when he was a loser and it was sour grapes, man, maybe I could understand creating some of this stuff and this divisiveness. But now that you have the position that you sought after, why is it not good enough? Why do the people, you got people that are unqualified to be in some of these roles, and we're not here to adjudicate that, but y'all winning. But instead of being cool and being winning, y'all still on the attack mode for Muslims, trans, black. Like, they wanted the bingo card to say anything but it said when it came to the perpetrator of Charlie Kirk.
There's
and
no
then
question.
when that did not happen, the reaction wasn't a counterbalance. It was a double down on, well,
Correct.
they're doing something wrong somewhere. And the one thing that this reminds me of, and anybody listening now would understand it if they've been exposed to this is so similar to the narrative behind gang violence, where it doesn't make sense to good, upstanding, tax-paying citizens that these people have disagreements and are killing each other and inciting riots and violence with each other over territory or colors. But this is exactly what they're trying to insert into the political landscape of the United States. If you're not my color, if you're blue instead of red, then you can get it. And I'll go door to door if need be to see what gang you representing. And if you're not in our gang, then you're a bad guy. You, your children, your wife, whomever, anybody's on the table as far as retribution. But for what? Retribution for what? Why are you so angry as the winner?
But here's the thing, though, bro. So at the end of the day, when you came into power by divisiveness, okay, that's the only way you won, because at the end of the day, it's about divide and conquer, right? So if I can divide them, get them fighting amongst themselves, I can obtain power. So now I want to hold power. So I got to keep them fighting against one another, right? I can't come in and say, guys, my bad. I made it and I just want to do this. We're going to do the right thing now. No.
Right.
So any chance I get to keep that narrative going, because when I keep that narrative going, I keep divisiveness, I keep people fighting amongst one another, and I can hold on to power. That's just the bottom line. And here's the thing, and this is why I wanted to do this episode, is because it's not about him. Even though we can say, they immediately started saying this group did it, and without facts and the whole 9 yards. And it wasn't just one or two individuals; it was the entire group. You know what? I don't even want to say that, because then I'm following along in the same pattern. There was a lot of people in that group that was doing it, right? So I don't want to say the whole group, because that's not fair. Not everybody did. There probably was people that actually, paid homage and kept it on an empathy standpoint and prayed, and then left it at that and never talked politics on both sides of the aisle, right? So this is where my point is. Reason I wanted us to talk about this is because we have a serious, and again, you guys, when I say this, like, Tony, for real, we have a serious problem, because when you hear Megyn Kelly, okay, let's just be fair here. When you hear her, do you hear somebody that can be reasoned with?
No.
She's gone, right?
She's gone.
Even if you told her
committed.
2 plus 2 is 4, and it's a fact, doesn't matter. Gone. The dude that showed up and said, Mr. President, send us that, give us the word, right? I'm ready. Gone. Okay, so even reason, right? Where typically people have a stand, and then we're able to communicate. And then from that communication, we can plant some seeds, both sides. And eventually people say, you know what, I see that perspective on, and blah, 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 this and that. Gone. Okay? So when we're getting to a point here where we don't see each other as human beings, that's the issue here. And when we don't see each other as human beings, and we see each other as just groups, and then everybody in the group is wrong or right or whatever the case may be, buddy, this is going to get, I'm telling you, it's going to go to a level where we have never seen. This is how you get to those levels of a country imploding on itself, okay? Because at the end of the day, they don't see their neighbor as human.
Right. The problem is the level of collateral damage that's going to occur, because the idea of us is small, and the idea of them is anybody that's not us. And that's the danger. So in the idea of this, Tony, radical left Democrat was what was said over and over again. How did that affect HBCUs? What the hell? How does HBCUs being threatened have to do with radical left Democratic, policies and politics? Like anybody that's not us, vehemently staunch of MAGA folks, are the them. And the them is starting to be more individuals that are bystanders than that are, actual Democrat card holding individuals, right?
I'm listening. I don't understand. What do you mean by it?
When you start talking about going door to door,
yeah.
When you start talking about threatening HBCUs, like you saw that right last week, that the HBCU, what did that have to do with radical Democrat left?
No, that's the point. That they're all. So what I'm saying is they throw them all in the same group.
That's what I'm saying. Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
So they don't see them, buddy. This is where we are as a country, and this is the thing. Let's be fair though, too. There is a radical left, just like there's a radical right. All right.
Absolutely.
Let's just be fair, right? And to be honest, they're the ones that start most of the trouble to keep it going, right? So, however, when we start saying that everybody in the group is guilty, or everybody in the group is like this, or they cause this trouble. Going back to your gang violence thing, right? Or they wore these colors.
Tony,
and this
they're
and that.
not
We
in
don't
the
see
group.
them as human. No,
But
we
people
know,
aren't in the group.
We know they're not. What I'm saying is they're what I'm saying, buddy, we know they're all not the same. But what they in their mind, they're all the same. That's the problem. In their mind, okay? It would be like me, what was it, Hatfields and McCoys, okay?
Yeah.
You're talking generations that everybody, any Hatfield is like this, and any McCoy is like that, and that ain't true. All right? Now, you may be mad at the uncle and the father and the son, but the daughter ain't got nothing to do with none of that. She ain't like them, but because they got the last name, they're all the same. And this is where we got to start looking at people as individuals. Go ahead. I see you shaking. What are you shaking at?
Because I think it's bigger than that. I think it's the Hatfields and McCoys, but anybody that's not a Hatfield in the state of West Virginia is the them.
Buddy,
it's going to be a lot more than just Hatfields as casualties.
No. I'm not. I'm just using that as an example. Okay. So I'm not saying that that's a small. I'm just saying. So everybody in West Virginia. So let's just break it up like this.
Yeah.
Is everybody in West Virginia white trash and ignorant?
No.
Okay, so think about it. But there's people that says those people in West Virginia, they're ignorant and white trash, right? They're saying everybody. All right, and we know everybody's not. That's my point. Okay, so when you blindly say everybody in this group is like this, you don't see them as human. You don't see them as individuals. That's where we are today. Period. Okay? And so that's the issue. So we got to get out of that. Right? And here's go ahead. You're going to say something. Go ahead.
No. Okay. No, you're on the right track.
Right. So of course the majority of people ain't got nothing to do with whatever the case may be. That's the way it is. We know that. But it's being labeled this group, that group. Right? And so we have to understand. And here's the thing. I can't control people outside of my household. I can't control what somebody else says. All I can control is me. And that's where we wanted to chat today, is that, because let's be fair, though. Let's be fair. There's people who probably watching this show or listening to it. When Charlie Kirk died, they were like, see, that's what he get. You see what I'm saying? He's spitting venom and saying this and that. And he was spitting venom. But guess what? That's what? You still should have some humanity that the dude got killed. He shouldn't have got killed. Okay? And so that's the point. All right? So it's easy for us to put these clips up and say, look at her and look at Megyn Kelly, look at him. But to be fair, though, there's people that we know, as soon as he got shot and died, they're like, so that's what he get. All right? And that's the wrong answer. Okay? Now, you ain't got to like him. You can say, hey, by putting yourself in this position made you more susceptible. It shouldn't have never. But from the onset, it shouldn't be about politics. It should be about, wow, man, that's messed up. He's got family. He's got 2 kids that don't have a father now. And that's where we need to go initially, right? And keep it there. Now, next day, 2 days, you want to say, well, hey, but at the end of the day, that's where we are now. And so, somebody always told me this, bro, and then we can close. I hear your final thoughts. Is that when somebody gives you a compliment, what should you say?
Thank you.
And what else?
Oh, I give them a compliment in return?
No, you just say thank
Oh.
you. There's
Okay,
nothing
okay.
else needs to be said.
To be said.
Right?
Okay, gotcha.
Exactly.
Okay.
Just
I
say
was like, wow.
thank you. Right? When
Right.
you go to somebody's funeral, all right?
Right.
Somebody passes away, you go to the funeral. What do you say?
My condolences. If you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all.
Don't say nothing else. Hey, sorry for your loss. We love you. We're here for you. Then shut your mouth. You ain't got to say, well, he was out there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And, you know, we saw this coming. They don't want to hear that. Just shut up.
Right.
We sorry for your loss. We love you. Whatever you need, and then you shut up, okay? And all that other stuff may be true, but that ain't time for that right now. It's time for humanity. Does that make sense, my brother?
Absolutely.
Give us your final thoughts, my man.
My final thought is that when you have people in positions where they have a platform to educate or inform others, it is very, very disheartening that they come with a gang mentality of you kill one of ours, we killing 7 of yours, and we got to get back. And instead of trying to absolve violence with gun control and laws and education, you talk about war. Steve Bannon said we're going to war. Fox News was saying we're going to war. This is this is Wednesday night. This is Thursday morning. We're going to war. Ultimately, to find out that the perpetrator was someone they didn't. It was the worst day when they found out that he had been killed, which should have been the worst day. It was the worst day when they found out that they couldn't proliferate the narrative further by the assailant being an immigrant or fill in the blank of somebody that they was against or didn't like, because that would have poured so much fuel.
Can you imagine?
Oh
Can you
my
imagine?
God.
They're a black dude or Hispanic. Or,
Oh my
You know what I'm saying? A transgender. I mean,
Oh my God. And so I am prayerful and excited that that was not the case. I feel bad for the dude that did it. I feel bad for Charlie Kirk and his family because I'm a human being, and you just don't want this type of stuff to be part of our dynamic as United States citizens. But at the end of the day, we have to calm the hell down in the idea of letting things. It's supposed to be guilty or innocent until proven guilty. It's supposed to be due process. It's supposed to be us having a rational, educated perspective on life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, not mob mentality, gang violence, and radical opinions that, for all intents and purposes, intellectually sound people tend to spew, especially at the head of state.
Thanks, buddy. Well, look, I'm going to give you the last word. That was awesome. So we really appreciate you guys tuning in and investing the time to check out BEP Live. We're going to be here every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Come check us out. Here's the thing, though, too. We want you to be part of the conversation. So if you want to come on and be part of this and join and provide your perspective, regardless if your perspective is on one side or the other, really don't care. Me and Chris is always here to learn. We're always here to chat. We're always to communicate. So definitely DM us or reach out to us on our website, and we'd love to have you on.
Absolutely. We want to thank you so much and remind you to check out other things we have on our platform. Case in point, Need to Know with Nsinga, where Dr. Nsinga Burton each week provides poignant topics or poignant perspectives on topics like this and others that shape our world and our community. A Black Executive Perspective podcast sponsors Need to Know, and she absolutely brings it every week. If you thought this was in any way passionate, you want to make sure you tune in to Dr. Nsinga Burton, and she gives you game on a weekly basis.
Absolutely. And don't forget to check out our show, Pull Up, Speak Up, here on the Black Executive Perspective, where our roundtable talks about the most provocative topics. You know, it's a revolution, not an episode. So definitely check out Pull Up, Speak Up here on the Black Executive Perspective podcast.
Before we get out of here with you guys live, we want to remind you to incorporate LESS. It's our call to action, and our goal is to eliminate all forms of discrimination. And to achieve this, we're asking for everyone to embrace less. The L is for learn. Educate yourself on racial and cultural nuances through our show or other shows like this. Always be learning and always be expanding your horizons, so you just can't be sheep being led to the slaughter.
Absolutely. And then after you learn, you have the letter E, which stands for empathy. Now, since you've broadened your horizons, now you can be more empathetic to what other people go through, because you can put yourself in their shoes.
The first S is for share. Share your insights, enlighten others. Don't hide it, divide it. Go ahead and click the like. Go ahead and click the share and make sure other people hear this, because we had a perspective today that we'd love to have shared and love to get feedback on.
Absolutely. And the final S stands for stop. We want to stop discrimination as it walks in this path. So in easy terms, if Aunt Jenny or Uncle Joe says something that's inappropriate at the Sunday dinner table, instead of just sitting there and being silent or giggling, say, Aunt Jenny, Uncle Joe, we don't believe that. We don't say that. And you stop it right there. So if everyone can incorporate less, LESS, we'll build a more fair, more understanding world. And more importantly, we all will see the change that we want to see because less will become more.
I want to implore you to tune in to other episodes. We are one of the fastest growing podcasts in this space. We're quickly coming up on milestones. We would love for you to contribute to that. We want you to go to the website, sign up for the newsletter, review us, give us topics that you'd like to see. Like Tony said, tell us some things you'd like to talk about. You might be able to jump on with us and you know, wax poetic with us on a live even. But make sure you subscribe where you're listening. And where else can they find us besides live every Tuesday at 6 Eastern? Where else can they find us, Tony?
My buddy, they can find us right here on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. And don't forget to follow us on our socials of LinkedIn, X, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram at A Black Exec. For my man down in Dallas, the co-host with the most, Chris P. Reed, I'm Tony Tidbit. We talked about it. We learned about it. Hopefully we'll be more empathetic about it. We're going to keep striving and thriving about it. We love you. And guess what? We're out.
A Black Executive Perspective.